Welcome to Mr. Kropke's podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the area of squares and rectangles. Today, in this first podcast, we're just going to deal with the square. You're going to have to log on to the second podcast to listen to rectangles. Area is the amount of square units that are bounded by a particular region. Up here is 1 inch squared. It's a square in which each side is 1 inch in dimension. So when we're talking about the perimeter of a square, or the area of the square, the first thing we need to remember is a square is a four-sided object in which each side is the same length. So what I'm just going to say is that we're going to call each side S. So if I was going to find the perimeter of the square, what I'm looking at is the distance around my square. So I would just add all my sides together. So I got S plus S plus S plus S, or better known as 4S. Where S will represent the length of a side. Now, if I was going to find the area of the square, what I would do is I would take the length of one of the sides and square it. So we can say the area for the formula is going to be side squared. So we're going to go through some problems, some examples to use these formulas to help us solve some problems. The first thing we're going to take a look at is ask yourself the two questions. What is given and what do we need to solve for? Question number 1. Find the area of a square with a perimeter of 32 inches. What is given to me? The perimeter is 32 inches. What are we trying to find? We are trying to find the area. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to write down the information given to me, and I'm going to try to see how I can use this information to help me solve the problem. So since they are giving me my perimeter, that's the equation I'm going to start with. So the equation for the perimeter is going to be 4S. So if the perimeter is 4S and the perimeter is also 32, I can take the 4S and set it equal to 32. Dividing both sides by 4, I find out that S is 8. So what we have now is a square in which each side is 8 units, actually inches, in length. So how can I find the area to this particular square? I take the length of one side and I square it. So I get an answer of 64 inches. And whenever we're talking about area, we want to use the units squared. So the answer should be 64 inches squared. Let's go on to the next example. The next example says find the perimeter of a square that has an area of 121. So again, what is given to me? Area 121. What am I trying to find? I am trying to find the perimeter. So area is 121. Perimeter is what I'm trying to find. So I'm going to set up my equation over here dealing with the area. Since the area is also known as S squared and it's 121, I can take S squared and set it equal to 121. Square rooting both sides, I get S to be positive and negative 11. But because we're dealing with the side length of a square, we only want the positive. So that means I have a square in which each side is 11. So to finish the question, they want to know what is the perimeter. I take 4, multiply it by the length of one side, so the perimeter is 44. The units should be to the first power, so we're talking about 44 inches. So the distance around the square would be 44 inches. Next question. Find the diagonal of a square that has an area of 225 inches. What is given to me? The area. What am I trying to find? The length of the diagonal. So the area is 225. The area, again, is also known as side squared. So I'm going to take my side squared, set it equal to 225, and then solve for S. Square root, square root. So S turns out to be positive and negative 15, which means S is going to be 15. So again, what I have right now is a square, that's not good, is a square in which all the sides are 15. But again, that's not what I want to find. I want to find the length of the diagonal. So when I draw a diagonal into a square, we need to understand some concepts here. First thing is, that's a right angle. Second thing is, when you draw a diagonal into a square, you create a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So what we're going to do is use this triangle right here to figure out what is my diagonal's length. So when you get a 45, 45, 90 triangle, remember the three sides are in a relationship. Across from the 45s are x and x. The hypotenuse would be x root 2. So what we did is we took this side that's given to me, and we set it equal to what it's known as, and we solve for x. Good job. So here, wherever I see an x, I can replace with 15. So the diagonal, which is known as x root 2, will be 15 root 2 inches. And that is my final answer. The last example we're going to do with squares is going to, again, work with the diagonal. It says if the diagonal of a square is 18 feet, then what's the area of this square? So again, ask yourself the two questions. What is given? The diagonal. What am I trying to find? I'm trying to find the area. In this case, probably a picture is going to be where we're going to start. So I draw a picture of a nice square, and then the diagonal itself is 18. And what we're going to try to do is use that information to help me figure out what are my sides. Because in order to find the area, it is side squared. So again, remembering that a diagonal of a square is going to create a 45, 45, 90 triangle. We're going to put in the three sides and how they relate to one another. Cross from the 45 is x, cross from the 45 is x. The hypotenuse is x root 2. So again, this is a worst case scenario. I have 18 is equal to x root 2. Now I need to solve for x. I need to divide this side by root 2 and divide this side by root 2. And I get 18 over the square root of 2 is equal to x. Now I need to rationalize the denominator. Multiply the bottom and the top by root 2. So I get 18 root 2 over 2 is equal to x. Finally, I get x to simplify to be 9 root 2. If you remember the little trick I taught you, you can just totally just go straight to the 9 root 2. So that means this side is 9 root 2. This side is 9 root 2. Now I can find my area. So my area is the length of a side squared. Here's where we need our calculator. Make sure we're hitting the right keys. So I'm going to hit parentheses, 9 square root 2, double it up, squared, and you better get an answer of 162. If you do not, we got to figure out what went wrong. So your final answer is 162 feet squared. That's it for the square part. Make sure you log on to the rectangle part, and then if you have further questions, please feel free to come in the morning. Thank you.